Hi guys! It has been a long time since my last video, hasn't it? Well, there are 3 reasons for it. First, back in April I went for 2 weeks to Japan. I just had no time to shoot any video for my channel. Secondly, a few days after I came back to my apartment, I had a water damage. Actually, nothing of my collection was damaged. And thirdly, I just had a lot to do in my job, so I had just no time to shoot any video. Now I'm catching up today with a lot of manga I got from Japan, and let me tell you first where I got them. So I was in Osaka a few days and in Tokyo. In Osaka I went to Denden town to the usual shops. There is a Mandarake, Melon Books. I got a lot of manga in Mandarake in Osaka, but also in Tokyo. You will see when I show you the manga in the back, I have often also still the price tags on it. And another store I went to is called Comic Zin. This is a small store in Akihabara, and I love this store. This store has just a really great selection of seinen manga. It's just heaven for guys like me. First, I'm going to show you the manga I have read a little bit and I can talk a little bit about it, and then I'll switch the camera to show you the rest of my manga which I haven't unpacked yet, or which are just, you know, a continuation of manga I'm currently reading. Let's start with the first manga, Cuprum no Hanayome by Namo. This is a sweet romance series with a pretty art which I like a lot. This is a story of a girlfriend and his guy who works in the iron industry, and what I like about this manga is that it actually takes place in a city which I know a little bit, Sanjo in Niigata Prefecture. It's a city where more than a third of the whole population works in the iron industry. This guy, he is specializing in copperware made of iron. He proposes to this girl, so they will be married one day. She's not quite sure if she should become his wife because she has this image that working for this family in this kind of industry is quite harsh. It's really sweet, it's really well drawn. If it's out in English, give it a shot. I think it's quite good. It's from the Harta Comics line. And I got the first 3. There's also a small drawing in the back for customers, and the 3rd volume. The next volume is called Heisei Shounen Dan. This is by the author of Umaru-chan, this comedy with this girl who is perfect in the outside, but at home she's a real slacker. Heisei Shounen Dan is a slice of life comedy of a dude in his early 30s. He has nostalgia for his childhood of the late 90s, and one day he's reborn into this kind of doll which resembles the Furby doll. He is picked up by his younger self, and then he's reliving his youth basically of the late 90s where his mom is still alive. And I think it's for all the readers who grew up in the 90s. So this is a kind of nostalgia comedy manga. I was positively surprised by it. I didn't quite grow up in the 90s because I'm older, but still there are things I remember well, like this Furby creature, but also the video consoles from the 1990s. This is also nostalgia for a time where the kids didn't have any cell phones. It's out in Young Jump, so it's a seinen manga basically, and I think there are 2 volumes out. Then I got Hina no Mamaja Dame desu, a slice of life drama, but nothing really serious, of this elementary school girl who is really embarrassed because she's getting her first period, and then there's this boy who helps her out. It's okay, it's nothing to write home about. This is a small postcard I got from the store where I bought it, Comics in Akihabara. It's drawn by Chiro Kurachi. Then I got something more serious. This manga is called Shinitai, itte kudasai. Please tell that you want to kill yourself. This is a serious manga. It doesn't look like it, but this is a quite serious manga. It's about suicide. It's from 2 workers working in an official department which takes cases of people who tried to commit suicide. So you follow the life of several people and the reasons why they want to kill themselves. It's based on facts, and I was surprised it's not about shock value. The art is okay. I suggest give it a shot if you're interested in good drama manga. It's by an author called Nakahara Roku. Another serious manga I got is this one shot of short stories called Kamisama onegai by Tomo Kobone. These are short stories. In the first one, there is an elementary school boy who discovers in the forest a head, and he talks to this head. He starts to getting friends with this head. Well, this head doesn't talk. Basically, this is a head of a love doll, but he doesn't realize that yet. There are other students in his class who tell him that, and then, well, when he realizes that, well, you can imagine what he tries to do. This is a dark satire. These are not feel-good stories, but they're interesting, and the art emphasizes the darkness of these short stories. We come to more fluffy stuff, more comedy stuff. Mount Celeb Kaneda-san. Basically, this is Big Titty, the manga. It's quite fun. These are always short stories about a very rich girl. She thinks very poorly of all her classmates. She has always some gadgets. It's from her rich family and so on. But at the end of each small chapter, she always the butt of the joke, you know. What I like also, there's a small advertisement here on the which is drawn by Sakurai Norio, the author of The Dangers in My Heart. A bit better, in my opinion, is Hodoite Musunde, the first volume. This is a sweet romance about a guy in high school who is really good at tying up hair. He has a crush on this girl in his class. He realizes one day that some hair is sticking out a bit. She asks him if he could fix her hair, so he does. And from there on, the relationship gradually evolves. It's quite cute, it's quite fluffy, and the art is also pretty to look at. Give it a shot if you like a romance manga. It's drawn by Morimiya Masayuki. Another romance I discovered in Japan and I never heard before is Hajimete no Suwa-san. And this is a quite sweet series. It's about this junior high school boy, first grade, and this bigger girl, also in the first grade. He has always been a boy who accepts challenges. Suddenly, one day, this girl he barely knows confesses her love to him. And so he has to overcome this challenge like he thinks about it. So this is here, basically at the beginning of the manga, she confesses her love to him. And he's super confused, he doesn't know what to do, and then he agrees to go out with her, and it's quite cute. The whole manga is told by the viewpoint of the boy, so we have no idea how the girl thinks about it. It's a bit similar to other manga in this vein, like The Dangers in My Heart. It's not quite as sophisticated. It has not so much progression. The art is quite cute. It has only 3 volumes, so I got all 3 for a good price. Now we come to some manga with rather unusual art or unorthodox art. First volume of Doku kurawaba kanojo made by an author called Butabako Eruko. This is a bizarre comedy, slice of life, more comedy manga. And like I said, the art is really special. The faces are quite roundish, the ears are also super round. It has more of a cartoon feel. And I really like this art. It's something different from what you usually get in manga. The characters are also quite crazy. In the beginning, it's about this girl who gets bullied. And then she has some kind of excuse for an incident. She says, oh, it's due to this pig is actually holy, and then something happens which is in her favor, but then everyone really thinks that this pig is holy, and then she attracts other quite eccentric characters like this girl who is always in these bandages. I said that it is actually funny, but it's not especially funny. It has some pages, some stories which makes you rather uncomfortable. It's an interesting manga. This is a small postcard which was in the manga. The first volume of Chii-chan was Chotto tarinai by Abe Tomomi. I really dig the manga by this author. I discovered him only last year. He has been around at least for a decade. He won some awards. He has a very peculiar art style. Speaking of bizarre characters, I got the first 2 volumes of Shiroyama to Mita-san by Yuhei Kusabe. So these two dofuses, this is a gag manga with a hint of romance. I've started to read the first volume. It's difficult to explain. It's just these two guys. They are very peculiar. They are basically big nerds. So they aren't attractive characters, so this makes it interesting. And finally, for the manga which I have read, volume 1 and 2 of Ningyou no Asa by Mokusai Sekisai. This is a manga about a young student who one day finds this girl who is more or less a love doll. Just a living love doll who is super bizarre. The way she acts with him is sometimes quite violent. She carries around this second head. There's some nudity, but it's never gratuitous. The art is also interesting. It's a bit scribble-like. So this manga came out in 2018 and I got the first 2 volumes. I don't know if there are more. So I got a whole bunch of manga which I haven't opened yet. The first volume of Mijuku na Futari de Gozaimasu ga. I think there are more than 10 volumes out of it. Then Kamera Hajimete mo ii desu ka. This is by the author of Yama no Susume. I got this one because one of my hobbies is taking pictures with different cameras, and this is one of these hobby manga. Nikon Z50, Pentax KP, Ricoh GR3, Yozora no Futari Camp Gohan. This looks like a Yuru Camp knockoff, but it's probably not. It's more focused on eating. One of these slice of life, which mixes also cooking manga in it. Koeru Otoge-san. This is a manga about road bikes, bicycling. Gokigen Naname no Yoshioka-san. Tanpenshu. This is a short story collection by Tsubasa Fukuchi. Okay. Ane ni naritai Ane-san versus Yuri ni naritai Imoto. This is a comedy manga about 2 high schoolers or junior high schoolers who recently became a family, and one of the girls wants to be the one-chan in the relationship. The other one just wants to secretly actually be in love, a Yuri relationship with her stepsister. It's a stepsister manga basically. 36 Degrees by Goto Yukiko. Probably a short story manga. Volumes 1 and volumes 2 of Rororo by Sakurai Norio, the author of The Dangers in My Heart. And this is a gag comedy manga with a lot of sexual innuendo. Hina to Bambi. Okay, don't know anything about this one. From Kodansha, volume 1. Ryunen Todome Senpai. This is by the author who is currently drawing The Clueless Transfer Student is Assertive. So it's by Kawamura Taku. And by the same author I got Uso no Kodomo Volume 1. This is a dramedy. It has comedy elements in it, but this is a drama. It's about a tanuki who transforms into a girl who is the deceased daughter of this woman and this man. They play the game with this tanuki. They pretend the daughter came back. And it's super sad. Gyaru Ashi, Volume 1. So this is an acronym for Girl Assistant, Manga Assistant. I think I've read a little bit of this online somewhere. Watashi ga koibito ni muri muri. I think I've read a little bit about this one as well. Tsuraneko by the author who did many years ago another fantasy manga. So this is, I think, a fantasy manga, an other world with a lot of yokai spirits, and the main character is all the time in a bunny suit. I don't know why. So this author drew Mokke, a fantasy manga 20 years ago, which became an anime. Mokke with 2 Ks. Piccolina. I don't know anything about this one. It's by Ichiko Otsuki. I just got it because of the art. I really like the art, and it's by Enterbrain. They usually publish manga with a polished art style. Gokko Volume 1. So you can tell a lot of times I have here this sticker which means I got it at the Mandarake store, used. Imazumichi wa douyara gyaru no tamariba ni natteru rashii. I got this one at the Comic Zin store. Comic Zin always includes these really nice postcards or other illustrations. Buchigiri Stitch by Aoima Shiro. This looks like an action comedy with old school delinquent type of girl. Suzume-kun no Koe. I peeked inside of an opened volume. This is a drama story of a girl who is reminded by a special voice of her lover. She gets to know another person who has the exact same voice, and so she's constantly reminded of her ex. Hokago Himitsu Club, Secret After School Club by Teppei Fukushima. Don't know anything about this one, but I quite like the small art style you can see here in the back. So this is one of these manga which have an unorthodox art style. Taifu no Hi. This is a short story collection by Keigo Shinzo. This author is quite popular right now in Japan thanks to a manga called Hirayasumi, which is a really good slice of life manga. Another short story collection by him here is called Muhanno, so like you have no reaction, Muhanno. Then Saita Cosmos, Cosmos Saita. Cosmos are cosmos flowers. Saita means blooming, so blooming cosmos, cosmos blooming. By Midori Obiya. He is currently drawing a rom-com manga called From Now On You Are My Childhood Friend, or Let's Be Childhood Friends. This is an older rom-com, I guess, by him. I don't know how many volumes there are, I think only 3 or 4. Then I got a bunch of volumes from Kono Fumio, the author of In This Corner of the World. She has such a pretty art style. I think she still draws in the traditional style without any computer, so these are watercolor based illustrations. Pippiranoto is a re-edition of an older manga by her from the 1990s. I think it's a Yonkoma manga. I like it. So volume 1, volume 2, there are only 2 volumes. A newer manga by her. This is called Hinotori, like Firebird. These are observations she did in the Tohoku area, so the area affected by the tsunami in 2011. She went there in 2015. Koshio no Gai. I don't know anything about this manga except that it is about a relationship, but it's not a love comedy. I think it's more serious. It's also out in French. We Are Freedom Friends. So is it a manga about friends with benefits? Probably. Tensai Majo no something. Volume 1. This seems to be a gag manga about genius witch. Chotto dake nukechau Hiragi-san. Konoko Shirimasenka, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Teron Taron. This is, I think, a dark road movie type of story of a dude, middle-aged man, who then gets in touch with this girl and then he starts a journey with her. Seems to be a darker story, a suspense story. Oji-kun to Me-chan, Volume 1. This is the story of, again, a middle-aged man. Do you see a pattern here? A middle-aged man and this girl. I'm not sure. No, I don't think he is her father. And she's always a positive person, according to the description. And he's like this gloomy type of person. Erena no Kyoka. This is again a manga which is published by Enterbrain, so it has most probably really good artwork. The first 3 volumes of Kore Kaite Shine, a manga which won recently an award in Japan. He's the author of Love Roma. And this story is about a young girl who is really in love with a certain style of manga and a manga author. And she lives in a small island in the prefecture of Tokyo, so south of Tokyo. One day she wants to go to the Komitia, which is a big convention for original doujinshi. And then she realizes that, well, her favorite author is none other than her homeroom teacher. The third volume of Seihantai na Kimi to Boku, You and I Are Polar Opposites. This one is also out officially in English online. This is a really great rom-com manga with a very unique art style. A cute, cartoonish art style and at the same time influenced by shoujo manga. The characters are just really great. I love it. The first 3 volumes of R15 plus Ja Dame Desu Ka. This is a story of a girl in high school. She just cannot watch movies with violence and sexuality in it. Movies which are rated R15 in Japan. She gets flustered, she cannot watch it, and then she gets to know another dude. This dude here who has no problems with watching these kind of movies. This is interesting. This is a kind of slice of life comedy manga. Flag Time 1 and 2. I think there are only 2 volumes by Sato. This is a Yuri manga. I think it's out in English and there's also an anime. I've never seen the anime. I just seen these 2 volumes. I didn't realize that it's actually Flag Time and just, oh, Yuri manga, super cheap, it's only 400 yen. Then I got the 5-volume series Madokara Madoka-chan. Madoka from the window. Mado is actually a window, so it's a word pun. This is a manga with a woman, you never see her mouth. This is rather strange. There is a salaryman who always walks past this woman's apartment, and in every episode her apartment is something different. So one time her apartment is a bar and she's a bartender. Another time she is, for example here, her apartment is a train station and she is an employee for train station. And you start to ask yourself, well, is this woman actually trying to get in contact with this man? That's why she always has these elaborate plans to have something else in her apartment to look into all the time. So here it's a swimming pool. This is absolutely absurd. It's quite interesting. Now for some manga which are a continuation of series I've already started. Kyo kara hajimeru Osana Najimi Volume 6 by Obiya Midori. This one is a new one. Dojima-kun wa doujinai. This gyaru type tries to flirt with this boy, but he's like unfazed. Hirayazumi Volume 3. This is a great slice of life by Keigo Shinzo. It won the 3rd place of Manga Taisho 2022, so the 3rd place of a very important award in Japan. A Sinner of the Deep Sea. I've talked about this manga in an older video. This is the adult version of Ariel, the mermaid. I've also talked about this manga, Uchi no Chisana Joshu-san. This story takes place in the Taisho area about this girl who is a housemaid. Karami Zakari, volumes 4 and volumes 5. This is this manga about this unhealthy relationship. NTR type of story. You have to be in the mood to read this kind of stories, so this is not a comedy, this is a drama, it's a sex drama basically. Shio ga Mai Ko ga Mai by Abe Tomomi. I talked just before, showed you a manga by him. He has this special art style with these eyes. Kimi wa Hokago Insomnia, volume 12, which is currently an anime. After School Insomniacs. I think I totally forgot to buy volume 11. The last volume of Yuzumori-san by Ejima Eri. This comedy drama of a high school girl who totally falls in love with elementary school girl. It sounds creepy. It is a bit creepy and nonetheless is funny. and also quite suspenseful. The author, she did High School Girls Don't Play Fighting Games, something like that. Sayonara Sankaku Volume 3 and 4, the last volume, by Obiya Midori, the author of Starting From Today We Are Childhood Friends, and this is a story about a love triangle. Volumes 12 and 13 of Soredemo Ayumu wa Yosete Kuru, Okumo-chan Flashback, Volumes 1 and 2 by Riichi Ueshiba. So this is basically Mother Complex, the manga, about a high school boy who has flashbacks of his mother when she was in high school. This is quite special fetish manga. Volumes 21 and 22 of Maiko-san Chino Makanai-san. I was surprised that volumes 21-22 were out because I read last year that the author went on a hiatus, but apparently she is currently drawing the manga. So her hiatus is finished, but it was never mentioned in Anime News Network. And volume 4 of Naniga Mochigatte Maska by Kito Mohiro. I think this is the last one. It's a story he drew in the mid-2010s. Otoyome Monogatari, Bright Stories. I had for many years now volumes 1 to volumes 5 in Japanese, and I never continued to buy them, even though they are out in French, they are out in German, they are out in English, of course, because I always wanted to buy the remaining volumes in the same language, so in Japanese. Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8. I love this character, I love this story in here. Volume 9, 10, again the main couple. 12, now you might ask yourself, yeah, where is volume 11? I was such in a rush, I got all these volumes the day before I flew back to Switzerland. I wasn't really paying attention, I just bought all those which were in the Mandarake in Akihabara. Volume 11 was missing, I didn't realize it. It's just annoying. 13, and the last one, volume 14. These twins, they are also really great characters. Volume 14, I got it twice. I don't know why. So I got this one twice, but I don't have the missing volume 11. Finally, I got this manga here, which I cannot show you because the content is definitely for adults. Andoro Trio by Uchiyama Aki. He was a famous hentai artist in the 1980s. Basically, he's one of the founding fathers of lolicon art, and this is a very thick volume which contains all 4 original volumes of Andoro Trio, which was an erotic gag manga from the early 1980s. There's an interview, there is some data, there are excerpts from the old magazines. So this is not only a manga book, but also almost like a scholar book. And I like the small gag here, which is supposed to be underwear. I hope you liked the selection I showed you today. Do you know any of these manga? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you have been to Japan, which manga stores you like to visit. Thank you for watching until the end, and see you next time. Goodbye.